As public servants, we all have to earn and keep the public's trust in order to serve them. And that starts with me and our Chief of Police. We took an important step in that direction yesterday with the announcement that we're reforming a new and independent Department of Records Compliance to process the backlog of open records requests. Today, we're taking another important step in that direction to strengthen trust and to let the community know that our administration is serious about transparency and accountability in city government. In March, the United States Department of Justice released the report it compiled following its investigation of the Louisville Metro Police Department and Louisville Metro government. This was a pattern and practice investigation, meaning that the DOJ was looking at the department itself rather than individuals within the department or individual events. Attorney General Garland and his team stood at this very podium and read selections of their findings. And they concluded that the vast majority of LMPD officers are good and honorable people who are doing this work because they want to serve our community, keep people safe, and help their neighbors. And that's certainly been my conclusion from working alongside our officers every day for 5 months. I thank the men and women of LMPD for their dedicated service. In their report, the DOJ did, however, identify specific incidents of misconduct where someone failed to meet their professional standards, or when LMPD itself, whether through written or unwritten means, created an environment that led to unacceptable outcomes. These incidents took place during the period of time that the DOJ looked at, which was primarily between 2016 and 2021, before Chief Gwinn-Villaroel and I assumed our current roles. The DOJ report did not identify who was involved in these incidents because, again, that was not their focus. They were focused on the department and Metro government as a whole, and in their report, they made a series of recommendations for reform and improvement, a number of which we are already in the process of implementing, with more on the way. But in hearing those accounts of certain individual officers, I had questions, the chief had questions, and the community had questions. Understandable questions like, what was the full story of these incidents? Were they investigated? Was appropriate disciplinary action taken? And what needs to happen now? So the chief, my team, and I asked the Department of Justice to give us more information so we could understand what happened in our city with our officers and determine what we need to do to continue building trust with the people of Louisville. We need to know so we can continue to reform and improve LMPD. And the public has a right to know. There are 62 incidents referenced in the DOJ report that took place between 2016 and 2021, and that in their assessment, they could provide without compromising their investigation and the confidentiality of their witnesses. From the information provided by the DOJ, we have reconstructed what we can about the incidents mentioned in the report and the LMPD personnel who were present at the scene at some time during these incidents. We are releasing that list of referenced incidents today, and it will include links to relevant documentation. It will be available on the LMPD website. We also sought the advice of the Jefferson County Attorney's Office to determine what action might still be taken at this point in time. We can divide the 62 incidents into 3 basic categories. The first is incidents that were already reviewed and formally adjudicated. About half of the incidents, 29 out of 62, were investigated at the time by the LMPD's Professional Standards Unit, or PSU. And then a disciplinary determination was made by the police chief at that time, whether that was Chief Conrad, Schroeder, Gentry, or shields. The county attorney has advised us that as a matter of law, these cases are closed and cannot be reopened or revisited. The second category is incidents that were reviewed but not formally investigated. These incidents received an administrative review, also known as a blue team review, but they were not formally investigated by the PSU. And these incidents can legally be reviewed again, and they will. Interim Chief Gwinn-Villaroel will review each of these 21 cases and determine what, if anything, should happen now in terms of discipline. And the third and final category is incidents that received no review at all for whatever reason. There are 12 of those incidents. The chief will fully review and evaluate each of these and decide if further investigation or discipline is called for. And let's be clear that just as we require officers to respect the constitutional right of residents, our officers have those same rights as well as specific provisions of state law and their collective bargaining agreement. And those laws and agreements have to be honored and will be honored. It's also worth noting that, as we all know, LMPD has seen a lot of turnover in recent years, and some of these incidents took place many years ago. Not all of the officers identified in these incident reports still work for LMPD. It's also very important to recognize that just because particular officers are listed as being at the scene when an incident of possible misconduct took place, it doesn't mean that every officer was involved or even fully aware of what was happening at the scene. Again, it's very important to recognize that just because a particular officer is listed as being at the scene when an incident of possible misconduct took place, it does not mean that every officer was involved or even fully aware of what was happening at the scene. These are often chaotic situations with a lot going on. No one should make assumptions without getting the facts. We also need to be mindful of the role that inadequate supervision or training may have played in an individual officer's decision. That's why it's important that each applicable case gets a thorough review. If the review indicates that further disciplinary action is deserved, then the chief will take further disciplinary action. When the results of this further review are complete, we will publicly share that information. And we are also working to release the body camera footage referred to in all of these incidents. That, too, will be publicly shared when available. I have asked LMPD to work to have all of this completed and publicly released within 60 days of today. So now, let's hear a little bit more from our Interim Chief of Police, Jackie Gwinn-Villaroel.
Thank you, Mayor, to the Mayor's administration, to our elected officials that may be present with us today, to LMPD personnel, and to the community. I stand here today, and again, for my commitment with the Mayor and my commitment to this police department and to my stance to always move forward with trust and transparency. And we are in a position as of today that we are showing our commitment. We have stated from the beginning that we want the community to understand and to know that we are an LMPD that we want you to be proud of as we move forward in this movement of keeping our community safe. And with that transparency, I will present to you Major Emily McKinley. She's actually going to walk you through step by step on how to receive the information in which we are talking about today. We want to present that with clarity. We want to make sure that you have the tools needed in order for you to make your truly understand and be truly informed as to the information that we are loading onto our website. So at this time, Major McKinley will now present to you how to find that information for yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Again, my name is Emily McKinley. It's EMILYMCKINLEY. I'm the major of the Administrative Services Division for LMPD. And again, just to provide additional information and facts regarding the incidents referenced in the Department of Justice findings report, we've created a spreadsheet of the incidents with links to supporting documentations on our website. And I'm going to walk you all through how to find those links and how to understand those links. So first, if you go to our first slide. Okay, so you'll go to our public website. It's www.louisville-police.org. And at the top, you'll see it says LMPD Transparency. If you hover over that, under that, you'll see a link that says Department of Justice Community Resources. And if you click on that, go to the next slide, you'll see this page. Over on the black column here to the left, you'll see a link that says Information referencing the DOJ's findings report. And then you'll click on that. It'll take you to this page. This is a statement that just gives a general synopsis of the findings report and the release, the history of that, and how we received the information from the DOJ. And then it goes into the chief's plan that she discussed on how she's going to review the incidents and provide more information later. If you scroll down and go to the next slide, we've organized a spreadsheet of each incident right here. So if you look at the first column, I'm going to explain each column and what they mean. So the DOJ line item. So the DOJ provided a list of incidents, and we went ahead and numbered those incidents. So the list that they provided, we attributed numbers to those. So the first incident here. And then the second column is the identifying information provided by the DOJ. So when they provided information that we requested to identify further information on these incidents, this is specifically the report numbers or case numbers that they provided for us to go back and refer to and try to find more information. The next column is the findings report page. So if you refer to the DOJ findings report, this is the page number that you'll find the paragraph of the incident that they are referring to. And then further, the paragraph number. So we've further identified the paragraph on that particular page that you need to refer to find more information on their assessment of that incident. The next is the section. So there's 8 different sections in the DOJ report, and so these refer to the sections of the DOJ report that these incidents are involved in. And then we get into the documents. So the first column is our blue teams. And like the mayor described, the blue team is essentially an administrative incident report. And so that's what the AIR stands for, is Administrative Incident Report. These are often completed by supervisors at the time of the incident. When an officer reports the incident to the supervisor, this is the documentation that the supervisor completes. It's then sent up to the chain of command all the way through the chief's office for review. So those are links to those documents. Then we have PSU case. So these would be links to PSU cases if a PSU case was initiated on this incident. And PSU stands for our Professional Standards Unit. So that is our unit that investigates administrative policy violations. The next column is PIU case. So PIU stands for Public Integrity Unit. This is our unit that would investigate any sort of criminal complaint against an officer. So if there was a criminal investigation on an officer relating to this incident, you'll find the supporting documentation there. Sometimes you'll have both PSU and PIU cases. And then discipline. So the next column is discipline. If there was any discipline imposed by the chief at the time, there's findings letters here that were written by the chief to the officer that documents that discipline. And then the last column is other supporting documents. So this might be arrest citations or police reports or any other information that we might have for these cases. So that's the spreadsheet there in a nutshell. It should be easy to find. The other thing I know that the mayor and the chief noted is body-worn camera video and photos. So those are currently being redacted for personal identifying information. So we don't want people's social security numbers or date of births on there. So we need to go through all of those videos make sure those are redacted appropriately, and any other sensitive information, like if it was at a hospital or someone's inside someone's residence. So that sort of thing is being redacted by our Open Records unit. Again, we asked for patience on that. We're talking about over 60 incidents. There's several body cam videos related to each one of these. Several of these videos are up to an hour or hour or two long. So it takes time for someone to go through all of these videos and properly redact those. But once those are completed, we'll provide links to those videos in bulk under the supporting documentation. And we'll advise when that's complete. Again, we hope this spreadsheet will allow the community to objectively review and understand these incidents and provide factual context and transparency and be available to everyone to review in their own time. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Major McKinley. Just a couple of final comments before we take some questions from the media. First, this is not something that we had to do. We did this because, as I mentioned earlier in my remarks, the chief, myself, others of my administration, her senior leadership team thought this was important to be transparent with the community. We don't believe that any city who has been presented with a findings report by the DOJ has done something like this before, trying to make it user-friendly so that even notwithstanding the vast amount of information that is here, individuals who want to know more can learn more, and so we are erring on transparency here. And also one thing, as Major McKinley mentioned, is in terms of like the different categories. So there are 8 different categories within the DOJ report of 8 different topics. And so we have, these incidents are within each of those different categories. So for example, the first category is use of force. 14 of the 62 incidents are categorized as use of force issues. So that also helps to categorize it. And in closing, I just want to go back to something that we saw across the street last month in the Metro Council chambers. Councilwoman Paula McCraney was speaking to a group of LMPD officers who were present. And she urged them to stand up if they want to work for a police department that will reward officers who uphold their oaths and bring honor to the badge, and that absolutely hold those who don't accountable. All of the LMPD officers who were in the room immediately stood up. It was a powerful moment. And as I said in my budget address, I want to thank those officers for taking that stand. I am proud to stand with them and with so many of their fellow officers, as well as people across our city who are working together to strengthen the connection between our police department and our entire community. One way we strengthen that relationship is through transparency. And what we're doing today is one more step in that direction. There will be many more steps in that direction as well. My budget proposal includes more investments and reforms that will help us make additional progress. And to everyone who is focused on this important issue, I invite you to join us in working towards our ultimate goal to make LMPD the most trained, trusted, and transparent police department in America. Thank you very much, and we'll be happy to take a few questions from the media at this time. Hold on. So we are hopeful that by being transparent, it will be one more step in the right direction towards additional transparency, not just with LMPD, but with all of city government. And through that transparency, even if there is information in here that none of us wish had happened, that helps strengthen trust. We need more trust between our entire community and LMPD, and so that's why we're taking the step in this direction. Roberto?
I'm not seeing anything in the press release or on the screen regarding how many officers whose conduct was described in the report are still employed by LMPD. That was something that Metro Council asked your administration for and the public has asked for. How can they find that information?
Well, again, as I mentioned here, the officers who were at the scene of the incidents that are referred to in these 62 incidents, is contained within this information. And different officers play different roles in each incident, and that's why I made the comment about it being important to not draw conclusions without understanding everything that happened. We will release body cam footage that will have more information. Once, as you heard Major McKinley say, that is redacted. And we will also, when we provide the findings and whether additional action will be taken, that will be yet even more information once that review is complete within the next 60 days. Well, all of the names of the individuals who were at the scenes, all of that is contained in this information. I do not know if their employment status is.
Again, I'll reiterate what the mayor has indicated. So when we come back before you within the next 60 days, all of that information at that time will be revealed to you. And so then you will have that comprehensive data and information as to what my findings yielded, what is the path forward, and the information on the employment status of the personnel.
Did you all have a conversation about the police bill of rights? Was there any concern that this disclosure of information might violate Section 6C? And can you guys talk about that?
We believe this is all, consistent and permitted. Our challenge was that we didn't know every incident that was being referred to based on reading the DOJ report. Some of them we had a good indication based on the facts that were provided, others that weren't. This is information that we believe is public information that has the right to be disclosed at this time. Certain private information like dates of birth and social security numbers or things like that, as Major McKinley mentioned, have been redacted.
You're confident it won't complicate any potential disciplinary or criminal charges down the line under the police bill of rights?
We do not believe it will. Josh.
What do you say to somebody who looks at these incidents that can't be adjudicated again, that involves egregious misconduct or unconstitutional policing, and these officers are still on the force? I mean, people might have concerns. What would you say to them? The chief would also like to answer that for us.
We understand that there will be people who do have that concern. It's important that we follow the law. We want to be transparent, but we also need to follow the law. We're asking all of our officers to follow the law. We're asking our citizens to follow the law, and so we do too. And given the stage that we're at with the passage of time and what previous administrations and leaders have made, we are forced to live with some decisions that were formally adjudicated in the past based on the legal advice that we have been provided.
Will those officers be spoken to if they were, for example, if they thought their actions were justified and constitutional, will they receive counseling?
Do you want to talk about that? Oh, the chief has it.
See, within all of the investigations, we're going to be looking at policy. What was the policy at that time? What was the training at that time? In order to see where we are, what adjustments that need to be made. Because, again, we want to follow best practices. And we want to be that national model that other agencies are looking to. So, again, all of that will play a role in all of the review that we're going to undertake in this investigation.
What changes would you work to make in the law that is preventing you from further investigating those cases that are closed? That's the first question. And secondly, what about the judges? The 6 judges that signed the preponderance of warrants, are those going to be named in this report as well?
We've been focused on the areas within our administration's control. And so that is LMPD, and that's why we're releasing all of this information today. I certainly encourage the judiciary to take similar approach towards transparency and addressing the issues that were raised with respect to the judiciary in the DOJ report as well. But we're focused on our administration.
Okay, first question is, what is the administration going to do in order to change the law that would allow those closed cases to be investigated?
We are not currently doing anything to seek to change the law in respect to this. Our focus is on moving forward on constant reform and improvement, not just of policies, but also of training, of ensuring that we have the right leadership at LMPD at all levels as we move forward, focused on recruiting officers, on the right training that they get, the right leadership throughout the entire, not just LMPD, but all of Metro government. The state law that we're going to be focused on changing is state law that we need help with to reduce the amount of gun violence on our streets. We all know that police cannot alone lead us to public safety, the level of public safety that we want. And so our focus in changing state law is going to be changing laws that'll help us reduce the amount of gun violence on our streets.
Mayor, when the chief goes back and looks at the incidents that can be reviewed, is there a concern that you've just started working with the DOJ to update LMPD policies, and thus, when she goes back and looks at did they violate an LMPD policy, that policy still might be unconstitutional or still might not be a best practice when she's reviewing them?
So we already have, the chief and her team have already begun to look at LMPD policies and certainly make improvements and updates on LMPD policies. So we will continue to do that. I'm not sure I followed the exact question.
I'm saying, are the LMPD policies ready to go back and reevaluate these cases, or do we need to update the policies before this 60-day period begins?
We will constantly update policies, but the review is based on what the policy was at the time of the incident, which I know may not be satisfactory to everyone, but that is the way that the review, what was the law, what was the policy at the time the incident happened. As learnings come from that, we will certainly continue to make improvements. This is going to be a forever process, not just for LMPD, but for all of metro government.
Did the administration specifically want this information out before making negotiations with a consent decree so that it can inform the decision?
No, the separate parallel tracks. We wanted to get this information out as soon as we could. We had to ask the DOJ for this information. Again, I don't believe this has happened before in response to a DOJ findings report. We got the information. As you can tell from the information on the website that Major McKinley put together, it took a lot of time to then go through all of LMPD's data, to organize that data, to put together that website so that it would be more user-friendly for individuals that wanted to know the information. And so that brought us to today. But we do not control the timing of the consent decree negotiations. So we have not yet seen a first draft from the Department of Justice of the consent decree. We are still waiting for that first draft from them, and then negotiations will begin once we receive that.
Right, and just a follow-up, is this to show good faith, though, to an extent to show that you're, creating a culture to the DOJ before those negotiations even begin?
My hope is that the DOJ has seen, ever since I received the first call as mayor from senior leadership at the United States Department of Justice, and said, we are prepared to cooperate, we are ready to cooperate, we want to cooperate, it's the right thing to do. The chief of police supports cooperating with you and working together, and so this is just yet another indication of that since that very first call they made to me as mayor.
As far as the incidents that have already been reviewed and closed, are you all taking the stance that the DOJ should have never mentioned those in the report?
No, that is not our position. Our position is that we are releasing that information today. It's just because of the way that the law is, or the collective bargaining agreements are, that we are unable to take further action, but we are disclosing all that information in the interest of transparency.
A question about public expectation. All of these incidents made the DOJ report for a reason. What are your expectations for future disciplinary action and future possible criminal investigations as a result of the review?
Can you restate that question?
What are your expectations for the possibility of future,
With incidents that have happened since 2021?
of the review that's being conducted? After the review is done, what are your expectations? Are you expecting more disciplinary actions to be taken and more criminal investigations to be made?
So again, I hope this is all completed within the next 60 days. That is our goal. And the chief and I will be back up here to report on what that review, the results of that review, and what disciplinary action is being taken with respect to what individual incidents at that time. And so we'll have an answer for that question. If I understand it correctly, we'll have an answer for that question following the chief's review of these incidents.
But again, all of these incidents made the DOJ report for a reason because of their seriousness. These are all serious incidents that occurred. Do you expect there to be more disciplinary action as a result of the review and more criminal investigation as a result of the review?
I think it's premature to say that. My guess is that there will be some more disciplinary action. I'm not speculating on any criminal action at this time, but Again, I think we need to go through and review that and go review each incident to give it the attention that it deserves. Thank you all very much.